All right. Are we live?
Think so.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. You're listening to Ethan Van Sciver. All right. Let me get my chat screen up. Let's see if we can get some people in here. Oh, we got a ton of people in here already. All right. That's not going to be a problem. We have a big crowd. All right. So I'm here tonight or I'm here this afternoon with my buddy, Doug Ernst. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's a writer, reporter, and he's a friend. But he's mad at me right now. And a lot of people in Comicsgate are mad at me today. I will say from my perspective, from my point of view, and then Doug can fill me in on whatever else is going on, that I don't know about. But what Doug should know is that from my point of view, this came out of the blue. This came out of the clear blue. And because nobody was talking to me directly, I am baffled by all of it. And I had to just pull at people saying, what? Give me a hint, give me a hint. And finally, like Timothy Lim got to me in private and said, this is what I think it's about. And then also Umbrella Guy seemed to work out some stuff because he's a detective and a reporter. And he, through his sheer, I mean, think about this, Doug, through his sheer reporting skills, and he has good reporting skills, he was able to pull together exactly a narrative that made some kind of sense about why everyone on Comicsgate, is mad at me today. Now, you have a completely different perspective.
That is true.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, one, I'm not mad at you in the sense that like I have some sort of like burning rage against you or anything like that, but I do have issues with specific actions. So I'm moving right now. So if you could see, people could see, like I moved from Jersey to Reno, and today I had the movers come in and all this kind of stuff. So I've been like out of it. Plus, all these DMs are rolling from tonight's live stream. So it's kind of been like insane the past 48 hours with all the stuff that's going on. But somebody, they sent me a text and they're like, Doug, Ethan is talking about you, and he's saying that you were impatient over a book deal.
Now, hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. That just happened a few minutes ago.
Right.
Now, what? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. So I got this and I was like, what? He's talking about the book deal? Why is that being made public? Like, I've never even talked about that publicly with anybody. And I was like, so one, I was like, why is he doing that now, hours before the live stream? And two, why is he saying that it was like solely related to me being impatient about it, when from my perspective, at least, I believe that I was completely tactful and professional in all of my private exchanges with you and not impatient. In fact, the text actually showed an incredible amount of flexibility. So then when I hear someone saying Ethan is calling you impatient and you're just mad at him for essentially no reason, I'm like, no, I'm not. In fact, if I were mad, I would have made it public months ago. And the only reason why I made it public today is because I heard about it on the live stream that you were doing.
Well, you also made an insinuation that if first of all, I don't confront people man to man, which, as you can see, is true. I confront people man to man constantly. I insist that people approach me if they do have a problem with me. SJWs do not do this. SJWs are gamma males. I will say this about my friend Doug. Doug is an alpha male. Doug normally is not somebody who I've ever had any kind of issue like this with, and never expected to. But if somebody's got some kind of a grievance with me, and they consider me a friend or want to stay my friend, they need to come forward and let me know, and tell me what's going on. So you said, Ethan, if you want to talk about how people are not being men and talking straightforward, I will go ahead and reveal private correspondence, et cetera, et cetera. And the only issue that I think we have ever had, you and I, and we have been good friends for 2 years, I think, is this one thing with the book. And this situation with the book kind of took me by surprise too, because in general, I have. Here's what happened. Here's what happened from my perspective. You tell me where I'm wrong about this, just so we can fill in the audience, because the audience may not know what we're talking about. All right. So you told me at one point, you said, "Hey, I'm doing a book. I think it's zombie related." And I said, "I like to draw zombies." And you said, "What do you think about illustrating it?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm under contract with DC Comics right now, but yeah, I would like to illustrate your book because I didn't tell you this at the time because it was still kind of being negotiated. But my contract with DC is going to come to an end, and so I'm going to be free fairly shortly to take on a new project. Um, First and foremost, I would have to ask DC Comics. I'd have to ask DC to make sure that that was okay." But I was interested. I was interested in doing a zombie book. I like you. I would like to work with you. And this was this last year? When was this? What year was this? This was this year, wasn't it?
This was February. Well, it goes back to late. Yeah, that actually ties into this. And so it was a process that happened over months of DMs in, we'll just say, late summer of 2017, going into Christmas, and then then
January is when I got the script. I got the screenplay from you in January. Correct or incorrect?
Yeah, it was late December, January.
That's right.
That's what. So basically, you said, I'm interested in this, but I would want to be full partners, and I would get 50% of the profits. And I said, gotcha, no problem.
Right, absolutely. Still was under contract. These things take a long time to kind of happen. I had the book in January, and in February you fired me off the book. Correct or incorrect?
Well, that's the thing. It depends. If you're under contract in DC, it's like a gentleman's agreement, and so in terms of us meeting and talking about stuff, my main thing was that you went radio silence on me, and to me, when somebody, well, that's the thing. It was. I don't know how much do you want me to talk about? I don't know how much you want me to say publicly here. I don't. My issue with you was always that every time it came to specifics, there would be this mysterious radio silence, and I was like, "What's going on?" And if you remember, there was actually a Twitter exchange where I was like, "I don't know what's going on, man. This is weird. Like, I wish you would have just told me that, like, I can't do it. I'm busy or whatever. I feel like a fool. I have to tell my brothers that it's not happening." And you're like, "No, dude, I'll do it, and it's gonna be good. Let's do this." And that's when you had responded to the first email, and we were like, "Okay, I will look at this over lunch or whatever the heck." And then there was like 3 essentially emails, like days apart, and you could see where I was like basically saying like, "Hey, let me know if you're busy. I don't care. I just need something from you." And the last email was like, I want to say like February 8th. I forgot what it was, where I was like, I don't know, I can't deal with this. Like, I need incremental progress towards something, or at least need to know something, not be left in the dark. And I just felt like it was a situation where I was like, okay, well, I don't know if this guy is stringing me along. I don't know what's going, I don't know. And I just don't like not knowing. If you would say like, "Listen, I'm under contract to DC, come back at me in August and then we'll talk," I could work with that. That's being transparent and clear. But saying, "Hey, we're partners, 50-50, okay." And then if I send a professional inquiry and 8 days goes by and I hear absolutely nothing and can't get in contact with you, then I'm like, that's unacceptable to me. In my profession, you can't get away with that. you even if you just said, "Listen, I'm swamped, dude. I will get back to you next week." Like one sentence, that would be enough. Mm-hmm. But 8 days is like, this is not going to work. And I even said in my email, like, "Dude, I love you to death. No hard feelings. I will plug your work. I will even, once I get to Reno and my wife is done with her residency, I'll probably be or donate to Patreon for you. I'll do whatever." But some people could be great friends, but not roommates. Some people could be great friends, but not business partners. And my message was just essentially like, "Yeah, man, maybe we're just meant to be like comic skate, like that will get into tonight and networking and stuff like that on friendly terms." But just I could see friction in our person. Like, we work different ways, and I could see that going into the future, and was like, I don't want it to come to that, because knowing my personality, I can't have 8 days of radio silence between emails with a business partner. I just can't.
Right. Okay. Well, we work in two different worlds. I mean, as I said in my chat before, I mean, I was illustrating Jordan Peterson's book. I agreed to do it in June, and I started drawing it in September or October. Finished it in March. It took a long time, and there was radio silence from him to me and me to him all the time. That's just kind of the way it is. I'll get a message, I'll get back to him as soon as I can. I've usually got a million things going on at once, and projects kind of have to slide in. Like it's not like something else. I can't give when I'm working on an art project. I can't give an exact date of when it's going to be done. And you ask me when is Cyberfrog Blood Honey going to be done? Sometime around September. It'll be done, but I don't know when. It's not like I have it on my calendar like this, and maybe I should. Maybe I should just say these pages are going to be done this, and this, and it's going to be done on this particular date. But that's just not the way it works. It's just not the way doing art works, especially not art that you care about. To be fair, working at DC, oftentimes when you're meeting that kind of a deadline, you do have to crank out stuff that you're not thrilled with. Just to meet that deadline, but that's not how I would work with Jordan Peterson. It's certainly not the way that I would work with you. I do understand you being worried about 8 days of radio silence, but that just isn't. That's just not something that is uncommon. Especially since I had the book, I had the manuscript in my hands January 11th, and you pulled me off of it February 8th. So it's less than a month during a time when I was working pretty hard and heavy on DC stuff and was constantly with my head, down at the desk drawing Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. I don't know. It felt like you were impatient to me. If you look at the chat, you can see that it's about 50-50 in terms of both of us. So it's not as though one of us is making sense and the other one isn't. It's just one of those things, Doug. You work in the newspaper business. It's a lot more fast-paced,
right.
You say?
So yeah, and that's my thing is, like even in my last email, I basically was saying, I literally said, no hard feelings. I will support you on Patreon. Like I'm literally saying, I'm going to give you money. I'm going to talk about your future projects. So I was trying to let you know, like, dude, I don't have anything against you. But I just don't think that our personalities mesh in terms of our expectations for the ultimate goal. And so that, to me, it was just like, yeah, that's no big deal. So my thing today, rewinding a little bit, when I saw you say like, I will throw shade at you ladies unless you talk to me man to man or whatever the heck it was, the exact wording. I wasn't
talking about you, by the way. I was talking about Captain Cummings. But you were the only one that answered. So how does that make you feel?
I answered because I felt as if it was an umbrella kind of insult at all of the people that will be engaging, who have issues with some of the Comicsgate stuff tonight. It's like, if you're calling me a lady and insinuating that I don't talk to you man to man, like when I know, it's like my hands are tied behind my back because I know that I've interacted with you through DMs for a long time and I've always been direct and forthright with you. And so it's like you're saying something where it's like, he knows the truth. He knows that I'm forthright with him. I'm even willing to discuss man to man with you right now. So why is he like telling
Now you are, Doug. Because why? Because I wake up to an insurrection with Comicsgate. And I don't know what's going on, and nobody will talk to me, but everyone's angry, and everyone's saying ridiculous things. My wife's up there upset, looking at, so she follows the Twitter. She says, what's going on with your friends? Why are your friends all stabbing you in the back? How do I know? If I knew, I'd be stabbed in the front. So, that is what I'm talking about when I say you ladies come to me man to man. You have a problem with me. You come and let me know. You can let me know my DMs. There's any number of ways that we can do this so that SJWs don't get a free show.
So,
and that's not what's going on right now.
My question for you is after my final email to you where you said I fired you, if we were friends, why since February 8th or 10th, why would you not come to me and ask me like, yo, Doug, is there some sort of, are wires crossed? Like, why has there been radio silence? You have literally never responded to that email. I take that as like, wow, I sent an email to this guy that would, if we were friends, he would clearly try and set things straight, but you didn't. So how am I supposed to interpret that? Can you understand how I would interpret that as like, wow, this guy's really doesn't care about me if he's going to just not respond to that email?
Well, I do care about you, Doug. I'm sorry for not responding to that email. I do care about you. I apologize. I think I saw that email and went, all right, great. Fantastic. Not thrilled about that email. But I understand that is something completely separate to all of this. I mean, we have been doing Comicsgate stuff adjacent to each other since then. It's been half a year.
Right.
And
so from my point of view, with your non-response to that email, even if it was an angry response, like, Doug, what? I don't even know. I was like, this email will elicit some sort of response from him that will give me a clear idea of where he stands, what's going on in his head, because I really don't know. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not, I guess I'm dead to this guy or something. And like, so that's how I interpreted that. And so in terms of Comicsgate stuff, it's one of those things. We'll talk about it tonight. So anyone who's tuning in right now, like, yeah, tune in tonight. We'll hash it out. But like, yes, it was just one of those things where it's like, I don't even know how to approach this guy after this.
The chat is thrilled that I apologize to you. Well, some of them are calling me a pussy.
No, and I would. So here's the thing: I don't hold any grudges against you, and even in that email, I said no hard feelings. And if you apologize, I accept your apology. And that's actually one of the things with DNC that I kind of sometimes don't agree with. Like, if I do something wrong to you and you point it out and it's like, Doug, that wasn't cool, and I could see that I did something wrong, I'm gonna say sorry. Like, that's just, to me, I don't know. But so yeah, I really honestly truly do not hold hard feelings against that, because I know that you are an all-star artist and you will do your work, and I'm confident in my writing, and I know that I will go on and do things. And so it's like one of these things where that book to me has nothing really to do with
this.
With
it doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
What's going on with Comicsgate, Doug?
Well, that's where I don't know if other people would get mad. I don't know if I should really talk about it before tonight.
No, talk about it. Talk about it tonight. Let's work it out tonight. Right now. What's going on? What am I missing? Let me tell you what I understand. I'll do it this way. I'm going to confront you about what I understand is going on, and you can confirm, deny. You can say whatever you want to say. All right. So first and foremost, the big issue is the issue of gatekeeping. Am I gatekeeping comics from Comicsgate? Did I, when I was on a live stream with my father, probably Father's Day, somebody asked me in the chat, they said, what do you think of Trump Space Patrol, Space Force? And I denigrated it. I said, I'm not crazy about that. I don't think that. I don't think that's what we should be doing as Comicsgate. Is that it?
Well, that ties into that's part of it. That is clear. That is definitely part of it, and I'm sure that will be. I'm sure that individuals will bring that up tonight. Yes, that is part of it.
That's just part of it. The other part is gatekeeping.
So with something like that, I've always, if Cyberfrog, right? I didn't get that in the '90s. That wasn't my thing. Right. I'm thrilled with the success of Cyberfrog, but I would never say anything negative about Cyberfrog, knowing that you are an anti-SJW, that you're part of the Comicsgate community. If it's not my thing, I just kind of zip it and I don't say anything. And if I were to actively come out and say, like, you know what, Cyberfrog's a '90s thing, why do I care about that? Like, why is even Ethan doing that? Shouldn't he be looking forward, not the past? Like, I would never do that. Like, and again, that's not necessarily what, this is just an example of a way that I could attack it. But so to me, when you're actively coming out and saying something against another creator, and you have literally like 70,000+ subscribers who are into comics, there is going to be an effect on sales that would otherwise not happen if you had just kind of let everyone stay in their own lane, if that makes sense.
What did I say besides Space Patrol, Space Force? Did I denigrate anyone else?
So again, I really don't want to like steal the thunder of like some of the things that are coming out to like people. Then I'm going to be the bad guy if I start talking about things that I know that are on other people's mind. But to me, is the Space Force thing, when you're saying that's 2016, the future is not Space Force or Trump related things, you're deeming yourself the arbiter of the future. And you're saying this is not something that is going to be going on going forward. And from my perspective, it's like, who deemed Ethan Van Sciver the arbiter of the future? And again, if you were just a guy in a comment section, it wouldn't matter. But you wield tremendous influence, and you're saying that to people, and then those people go out and they, if each person who watches you tells 2 friends, screw Trump's Space Force, it has a cascading effect on other artists who are essentially allies of you in terms of your overall goal of creating a comics industry where good stories and good art flourishes.
Well, you just told me I wasn't the arbiter of the future, and then you told me I control the future, all in one sentence.
You're essentially deeming yourself the arbiter of the future by saying that. And yeah, that's the thing.
One can't just deem yourself the arbiter of the future. Either you have influence over people or you don't. Either you're an influencer or you're not. I do have a big audience.
Yes.
And the big audience that I have because I'm honest with them and I tell them what I think. I'm not trying to control the future. I have no ability to control the future. If I were to tell everyone in the world or everyone in my live stream that I think Taylor Swift is garbage, they're not going to decide Taylor Swift is garbage just because I said so. They're going to make up their own mind. But I think people do listen to what I say because they like the way I say it, not necessarily because of what I that I'm always right about everything. But you can't just say to me, you think you're big and bad and you're the arbiter of the future or whatever this is, that I control. And then say you have all these people who listen to you. That you're contradicting yourself. Either I can do that or I can't. And if you tell me I can't, I'll say okay. And if you tell me I can, I'll say okay. That's all. This is a very scattered kind of point of view.
I consider it a nuanced point of view. You do wield tremendous influence. And what I'm saying is out of all the targets out there that you could choose to criticize, if you choose to criticize Timothy Lim and Brett R. Smith and Chuck Dixon and Mark Pellegrini,
I would never, let me just say this out first. I would never criticize Timothy Lim or Chuck Dixon or Mike Pellegrini, ever.
But when you say Trump's Space Force is silly, they need to stop doing it, that's not the future. By default, you are actually criticizing anyone who works on those projects.
Well, okay, I can live with that. That's probably true. I disagree with going that way. I want those guys to make money, but when it comes to actually, if somebody asks me, what I think of it in terms of Comicsgate, I'm going to tell them that I don't think that doing Trump parody books is the future of Comicsgate. Do you disagree?
I definitely think that you should be honest, but I also think there are different higher levels of truth that there are ways that you could get your point across without, like I said, if somebody asked me what I thought, say Cyberfrog's not my thing, and someone's like, Doug, what do you think about Cyberfrog? And I would say, well, that particular kind of storyline and what that's going after and what it's trying to hearken to, that's really not my deal. Or actually the Chuck Dixon, the Kill All Men sort of book, that's not my bag. And I've said that on my own live stream. And I said, you know what, that's not my thing. I'm not going to talk about it on my channel. But I hope it really does well, and I hope it finds its audience. And so that, to me, I'm being honest. I'm saying it's not my deal. I hope it does well. But I'm not saying, yeah, that's not the future. Don't do that.
What's the difference? What's the difference between you saying that you don't like that book to your crowd and me saying, I don't like that book, that's not the future?
Because
what exactly is the difference? It's a matter of semantics. We're both denigrating a project. I don't believe that you are denigrating Chuck Dixon or any of the creators on Kill All Men. I actually took that book and I said, I think this actually is good. I think this is going to be good. I'm going to run this by my audience and tell them to support it. With Space Force, we disagree.
Right.
We disagree about it. But do you think for a second that I would denigrate somebody like Timothy Lim? Well, I mean, how many projects are they going to do? Cyberfrog isn't it for me.
I don't think that you're consciously necessarily going out to try and hurt people, but the unintended consequences of your rhetoric, the rhetoric itself, it says that there isn't a place within comics for this. When you say that it's silly, they need to stop, comics are for everyone. Well, comics are also for people that like political satire. And when you say it's not the future, you're saying it's not the future for you, not for people that like political satire. And to me, there's a difference. But once you cross, it's a fine line. But once you cross that line, the creators of those comics are going to take offense to that. And over time, if you continue to do that, they'll look at like they'll turn a blind eye to it. They'll bite their tongue once or twice. But if it starts happening over the course of months, there's a sort of anger that builds. Like, why is this guy doing this? I never talk about Cyberfrog. Why is he doing this to me? I don't understand. And so there's that's where this sort of builds and builds and builds. And when you're like, where did this come from? It's because it's a slow, it's almost like a Chinese water torture thing. And then the person just blows up and is just like, I can't take this anymore. That's
but I only did it once without thinking, really, on a live stream with my father. That's the only time I've ever mentioned anyone's book. And by the way, I do make a policy. I do have a policy of not criticizing other people's comics. I don't believe in it unless it's my friend, like Vox Day. Vox Day sent me a bunch of comics. He asked me to criticize them. In that case, I'm going to do it because he asked me to. Or I might make fun of a friend's comics, like Diversity in Comics. But I don't do that. At one point, someone asked me a question that I deemed to be a political question, not so much a comic book question, not so much a professional question, but a political question in terms of politics, in terms of Comicsgate. What do you think of this book? And I answered it honestly. And maybe I shouldn't have, but I've only done that once, Doug. I've only done that once. It's not as though I'm constantly hammering down on other people. Now, other people seem to want more of my attention. Other people seem to wonder why I'm being indiscriminate about who I'm promoting, which comics I'm promoting, and which ones I'm not. They seem to think that I'm some kind of a kingmaker that can actually make books sell just by talking about them. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think that that's something that I can do.
I think you are selling yourself short when you downplay the influence that you have within the Comicsgate community.
Well, I appreciate that, but I mean, I'm over here talking about Star Wars with Star Wars fans. I'm not really talking about Comicsgate very, very much. What I'm actually doing is just now I'm promoting the comic books of my friends. I don't know Tim Lim. I just met him today. I've never talked to him before. I don't know who any of these people are who are mad at me. I did buy a copy of Thump, which is wonderful. I hope to become these guys' friends. I would like to be their friends. I would like to get to know them. But this idea that I'm running people down when all I did was comment politically in terms of Comicsgate, what I want Comicsgate to be, what I want the comics to look like. If it were my choice, it's not my choice. But people are asking me my opinion. What is my opinion? If I could control the world and I could control Comicsgate and the line of comics that the creators associated with Comicsgate put out, what would I like them to look like? Would I like them to be Trump parody books? That goes counter to everything I have ever said about what I think comic books should be. And you know that. I've been very, very upfront about the fact that I believe comic books should be apolitical or very subtle but they shouldn't be partisan. And Trump comic books, I mean, yeah, you can say, yeah, but they're making fun of them as much as. Come on. I really feel like keeping politics out of comics, at least the comic books that we're making, is the best way to win back the largest audience, which is what I am trying to do.
And
now,
that's where the disagreement's going to come in tonight, because there's a fundamental disagreement between your definition of what comics should be and what many others, our position of what comics should be. I don't believe that the politics isn't the issue. It's being transparent about what it is that the person is selling. So when Marvel does weird things like turns Iceman gay overnight, when there's decades of him being straight and thought bubbles of him, relationships and all that sort of stuff, or shoehorning it into existing intellectual properties, that's where people get turned off. But if you say, listen, this is a political satire book, it's got Trump, you like it, you don't like it, that's cool, and this is what we're doing, as long as you're upfront with the consumer about what exactly the product is, it will find its audience, and it could be political. But what Marvel and Image and all these other guys do is that they do political books, but they pretend as if they're not actually doing political books, and that's what soured people. It's not any particular kind of comic to me, or any genre of comic. It's really just dishonesty on the part of the people that are selling the comics, the writers, and then a number of other things, which I'm sure will be discussed tonight. So there's a fundamental disagreement over what you believe comics should be for the healthiest industry and what others believe.
Well, they can get their own YouTube channels then, and they can disagree with me. I don't know why I have to represent the ideals of everyone other than myself. All I'm doing is talking on my YouTube about what I think. Everyone is allowed to have their own opinion. I was asked for mine. I wasn't asked to speak for the group. I'm not the leader of Comicsgate. Okay, I represent what I believe Comicsgate is, and I represent it to my audience. But everyone is kind of allowed to do their own thing, do their own projects, have their own ideas about comics, and certainly at the end of the day, the audience is going to choose. The customers are going to choose the books that they want to choose. What I don't understand is why I'm simultaneously being denigrated as somebody who has a big pull in comics and shouldn't have a big pull in comics or in Comicsgate, and should basically keep my mouth closed, and yet also promote everything. I guess I'm supposed to promote everything indiscriminately. And then on top of that, there's this whole undercurrent of anger at me that is about 2 days old, that I would like to understand. As far as I know, it's about 2 days old. So I'm getting a lot of mixed messages here. A lot of this stuff could be ironed out. If these guys had come to me and said, we heard what you said about our book on your dad's live stream, on the live stream with your dad, like, that was kind of thoughtless. It kind of hurt our business. I would have been like, whoops. Seriously, sometimes I talk, I'm like you're a YouTuber too. I talk for like 5 hours a day. And sometimes I get into honesty mode, and I just open my mouth and say things that I probably shouldn't say. We all do that. I don't want to hurt anyone's comic book at all. But at the same time, I don't think that I am responsible for portraying the big picture here in terms of a rainbow idea that everyone's happy about. All I can do is represent my own,
I actually do have empathy for you in that, and even Richard to some extent. So the thing is that Comicsgate has exploded in ways that nobody ever imagined. Faster, quicker, bigger. And so now that there are all of these expectations amongst the subscribers and the people that are excited for what's going on. And so in many ways, even if we don't want the responsibility has been thrust upon us in many ways. And so it gets very complicated. You get through professional and personal minefields on a daily basis. And so in that sense, I totally understand what you're saying. And I guess like I said before, to me, I think that I try to be cognizant. So people will attack diversity in comics, and with Jawbreakers, they're like, they'll comment about his past writing on the original books. and they're going to be like, it's going to be a piece of crap or whatever. And so they're like, tell me I'm wrong, Doug, or something like that. And so I have to navigate those sorts of things. And there's an infinite ways I could respond. And so when presented with that, I have to be like, okay, how do I do this in a way that continues to grow the Comicsgate community? B, it's actually honest, and I could look myself in the mirror. I'm being principled, but at the same time, I'm not like alienating or in any way sort of like weakening what we're trying to do here. You're in a catch-22 situation on a daily basis.
Yeah. Oh my God, what is Captain Cummings doing? Do you know anything about this?
I haven't, like I said, it's been nuts at my new place today. We went out for lunch, but I really haven't had a chance to see what's going on.
Yeah, it seems like everyone has gone absolutely ape. Here's Captain Cummings' tweet right now. Well, Ethan Van Sciver can keep the money. I don't know what money he's referring to. I don't want his shitty Ninja Turtle ripoff. Do I need to fly down and say it to your face to be a man? Or are you going to tell me to kill myself? Seems comic pros always end up being the worst people, like DNC has stated multiple times. Do you have any idea what he's referring to?
So my guess is he probably did not like the I will continue to throw shade at you ladies comment. My guess is that I don't know. This is just me hearing it right now as you're reading it or whatever. But my guess is he did not react positively to that particular tweet. And I guess I would say to anyone who's listening or whatever, I actually think this is a good thing that we're actually able to have these conversations. I give you all the credit in the world for actually hosting this live stream tonight. What we're able to do that SJWs can't do is even when we get angry at each other, we're able to speak and hash things out. A lot of times, guys, like I think about my time in the military, and I'm sure DNC could confirm this as well. Guys will come to blows. They'll literally come to blows and fight. And then like the next day, they're like having a beer together because, I don't know. That's just how guys kind of are to me or whatever. So I understand that people are emotional and they're heated right now. But I think actually the live stream will clear the air, and then we could actually move forward as long as we come to some sort of agreement about we figure out where everybody stands.
Well, we're not going to be able to figure it out because he's saying he doesn't waste his time talking to compulsive liars. I assume that's me. So he's not going to go on the live stream tonight. I honestly have no idea what Captain Cummings is going off about. But this is what I'm talking about. Everyone has gone crazy. They've gone crazy within 2 days. I don't know how organized this is. I don't know who's behind this. But this is like something out of an effing comic book. This is silly. So I just had him on my show for 5 hours talking about how much I loved him 3 days ago. I don't know what money he's talking about. Captain Cummings, do I owe you money? If you're listening?
I think he just reacted really negatively to that particular tweet. So that's the thing is when you speak, so most guys don't want to be called a lady and they don't want to be.
But he's been going around spreading this bleeding cool article and talking about me telling a fan to kill himself when he knows how sensitive I am about that, how much I don't like that.
That actually gets into tonight. So with the gatekeeping thing, and you please stop me at any time, and I hope people don't like hate my guts for like talking about some of this. So the other day with the Mike Miller thing, when he was like, it was a joke, the gatekeeping thing. Gatekeeping is not a joke to a large percentage of the Comicsgate community, and they are very wary about that because they don't want to have the same problems of the past duplicate themselves. For years, for like 8 years on my blog and then going into YouTube, I've been fighting against gatekeepers, SJW gatekeepers. And so the thought that there would be new gatekeepers that were just as intolerant, but just essentially the other side of the coin, I'm not saying that you are that. I'm just saying the fear of it. People don't like jokes about that. They take it very personally. And so it's one of those things where it's like, how do you not know, if you're part of Comicsgate, that people are very sensitive to the word gatekeeper or something along those lines, that they're going to react negatively?
So what he's talking about to the chat that's listening, the other day, Mike S. Miller, who is a comic book artist who is a conservative and who is taking quite a beating over his career for standing up for his conservative views, which, by the way, I don't share. He's a creationist and has just spent his entire life arguing for creationism, which is something that I don't understand, but I respect the fact that he has taken his licks for that and has oftentimes found it hard to find work in comics because of that. Now, Mike S. Miller said, "I'm breaking away from DC Comics. I want to publish my own comic book. I want to do what you did." And I said, "Good for you." He said, "Okay, well, can I borrow Cyberfrog? I'm going to do a poster of my character, all of the Comicsgate characters, and I said, "Yeah, absolutely, go ahead." And in fact, anybody who asked me if they want to borrow Cyberfrog to do something like that, I'd be more than happy to let them do it. And so he started working on this poster, and he's like, "Can you think of any other characters that you go on here?" And I mean, I looked, it had the Jawbreakers, it had My Girthy Pony, Rainbow Brute from me, it had Red Rooster from the Brightwisers, and it had his character, and I don't really know who else. And then he said, "Should I put Rags on there?" Doug, I don't know what Rags is. I have no idea what Rags is. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that might be a function of you kind of splitting off into the Star Wars sort of sphere of YouTube. But that's another book that to a lot of comic skaters is kind of near and dear to them, and they consider Rags an important part of the Comicsgate community.
I don't know who I don't know what I don't know this person. So is Rags a book or is Rags a person?
Rags is a book, and it's like a zombie apocalypse type book. I don't I have not purchased that particular book, but I know that people love it.
Okay, good. I don't know this person. I don't know who he is. I don't know his book. I have no idea. So I mean, this is the thing. I've got my friends. I'm doing my books with my friends. I'm doing. I can't. I don't know. I don't even know.
It goes back
to respond to any of this.
It goes back to what I was saying earlier, where Comicsgate has gotten so huge, which is a good thing. As far as I'm concerned, we have defeated the SJWs because there is now a business model that is viable for people that don't want to deal with all that sort of junk. But the problem for a guy like you or even Richard is you're getting so big, you only have so much time in a day to do your own projects, to do the Star Wars videos, to sometimes circle back on Comicsgate. And so it's so much and overwhelming for one person that's what I was saying before. There is so much hopes and dreams and expectations that are placed upon the people of Comicsgate. And so even if in your mind you're like, listen, I don't want this responsibility, it has now been thrust upon us. And then it's like, how do you deal with the gravity of what has been entrusted to you from all of the subscribers that are like, we want this to grow and we want this to completely change the comics landscape. It's like I said, you're in catch-22s every single day. You're in professional and personal minefields, and yeah, you might have complete blind spots, and that's it's a very tricky situation for anybody that's watching. And then there's like the DMs on a regular basis that people never see, the criticisms, and like it's but I'm happy with where we're at, and like I said, I know that this seems very rough for people right now, but I think we're actually going to come out on the other end better for it.
I don't see how at this point. Yeah, I'm getting messages from other the biggest people in Comicsgate now who are saying, "Am I crazy, or is there a lot of people getting angry out of nowhere?" I'm reading threads, and none of this makes sense. What is Captain Cummings talking about? What is going on that we don't see? What is this, and why do I need this? Why do I have to put up with this? Why is this coming my way?
Some of this will tie into tonight. Even it'll tie into the Mike Miller stuff. And so there's a whole, I don't want to say a host of issues, but there are a number of things that when they come together like perfectly, it's like a chemical reaction. Certain chemicals, they exist, and when they finally meet each other, it explodes. And so there was
that chemical sounds like estrogen. I don't want any part of this. If this is the way things are going to be, I don't want this. I'm just doing my Cyberfrog book. I'm talking about Star Wars to my audience. I can be a big help to people, or I can just be out of here, because I do make an effort. I have a weekly Comic Skate show in which I try to introduce people like Captain Cummings, Weaponized Nerd Rage, some of the biggest comic skaters. I put them on every single weekend to an audience of, or every single week, to an audience of 1,500 plus, sometimes 2,000 subscribers, 2,000 viewers, to get their channels blown up. I talk about them. I let them promote themselves. I make them seem important. I talk to them deferentially. This is some fucking Julius Caesar shit, from my perspective. Now, I don't need to promote anyone. None of you. I don't need to do any of that. I don't need to talk about you guys. Yeah, we are going to continue to grow. You have to understand, some of these projects are going to continue to grow. And, you can either be with us, or you can make yourselves like this. You can be our enemies out of the blue, and then we're going to leave you behind.
So your comment right there, likening yourself to Julius Caesar, saying, I don't need to do this, I don't need to promote
I don't. I got a lot of people who I don't know who are stabbing me in the back. A lot of people who I don't know who are upset with me and who are putting knives in my back and starting trouble. I'm sorry if that sounds egocentric. That's what it feels like. I've got people who I try to help, people who I try to lift up, and this is the inevitable result. I would love to know what Captain Cummings' problem is. Anybody who watches my show,
I hope he comes on to. I hope he changes his mind. I hope he comes on and talks to you about it. But I'm just telling you, I think it's a bad move to view yourself as Julius Caesar as opposed to people
who have. Then stop putting knives in my back. Stop announcing that I have a lot of reach and a lot of power. Stop putting knives in my back, and then stop telling me that I have an ego problem. And then I'll stop talking about me being Julius Caesar.
We might just have to agree to disagree, because what you call a knife, other people are calling legitimate disagreements that they have. It's not necessarily a knife, and so it's a matter of you just being able to listen to what they're saying and try and see where they're coming from. I see where you're coming from. I could see why you would feel attacked. I totally understand that. But it's one thing to feel attacked, and then another to step back and look at things objectively and saying, like, okay, maybe there just might be a reason why, a legitimate reason why people are upset.
I'm asking for it. I'm asking for the legitimate reason. I'm not hearing it. I heard one reason, and I said, yeah, I agree. I opened my mouth about the Space Force book. I shouldn't have done that. Everyone else, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to know. I'm waiting to hear from all of you guys.
They will tell you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm sure. I'm sure that they will say it. And at that point in time, if you think that they're full of it, you could always just say, like, I think you're full of it. But I don't think anybody is like plotting and planning to stab Ethan Van Sciver in the back. I don't think it's like that at all. I think that with any sort of growing movement or network, there's going to be fundamental disagreements on terms of the direction that it's supposed to go. And then if you have a disagreement on the underlying principles of the movement, you're going to have people that just get angry at things. So to me, it's just a function of the growing movement, not animosity towards Ethan Van Sciver.
Well, I don't know. I guess the movement needs a leader then. I guess the movement needs a leader, and someone's going to have to step up and be the leader of the movement, because everybody's pulling in different directions, and this is I don't want that responsibility. I just want to do my frog comic. I want to help. See, from my perspective, I want to do my frog comic. I do have a few political things to say when it comes to Comicsgate, how I feel about it, what it means to me. That I'm sorry, that's going to run over a few people. That's just going to happen because Comicsgate is about criticizing what's going on in comics. So some people's feelings are going to get hurt about that. Hopefully, they're the right people, though, SJWs. But I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to be the leader of this movement. I would rather just do my frog book, talk about Star Wars, and just be out of it. When I think I'm helping people, apparently I'm pissing people off. Okay, I can't do enough. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about this. I'm not thrilled about the behavior of all of these people right now. I'll love to hear it. I will tonight. I'm going to be on tonight. I'm going to give everybody the airing of their grievances, and then we're going to find out what goes down. But this is, boy, yeah. There's no reason for this. There's no reason to behave like this at all. At all. Any problems that anyone had with me could have been dealt with in private. Yeah, this is infuriating. Absolutely. I don't think my chat's ever actually seen me angry before. I'm legitimately angry now. So we'll see what happens tonight. Doug, I appreciate your coming on and talking openly. You're a good man. You are a man. You know that. I dig.
And you likewise. I want to just make sure people know that I'm not waking up in the morning and just like raging at you. I don't have that. I do, as we talked about, there are sometimes miscommunications or sometimes disagree on certain Comicsgate related things. But I hope my demeanor has showed that I'm not. There's not steam coming out my ears. It's really I just have disagreements with things, and they might be sharp disagreements. But it's not anything that would ever have me say, like, I will never talk to Ethan Van Sciver again. It's not like that at all. And I think if everyone comports themselves like we have in this discussion tonight, I really think that I'm optimistic. I would like to be optimistic about what happens at the end of tonight's live stream.
All right. So people in the chat are saying Ethan quit Twitter. Wrong. Twitter is business. Business is good. I'm not walking away from Twitter or YouTube or any of this. We are going to work this out one way or another. And some people, it seems like some people are either going to get cut off or are going to cut themselves off, and that is their choice. But yeah, this is, I don't get it. I don't get it. All right, Doug, I thank you for coming on. Thanks to the chat for hanging out. Sorry about super chats. Doesn't really feel appropriate to read them, but I do appreciate the donations. I'm going to take all the super chat money from this and then from the chat tonight, and we are going to donate that money to veterans, preferably wounded veterans. Doug, if you have a good charity in mind that you would like to donate this money to, wow, that would be a good thing. So you guys, tonight at 9 o'clock, if you want to donate those super chats, you should be aware it's all going to go to wounded veteran charity of Doug's recommendation. So Doug, thank you very much again, and I'll see you again tonight. Okay.
See ya.